share my screen. I'm not very good at this technology stuff, but we'll see. Okay. The theory of nursing is caring. Before I get into the theory, talking about the theory of nursing is caring at all, I thought I would open up by saying something about the idea of reframing nursing situations through theoretical lenses. And no matter what nursing theory you come to this session with, unless it is nursing is caring, you can practice reframing your understanding of nursing. As Stephen Covey has said, the human capacity to reframe is one of our greatest strengths as human beings. Another author said, the way we frame a situation can have a profound impact on how we experience it. And finally, reframing is a skill. It can be learned and it needs to be practiced. The more we do it, the better we get at it. And I'm just thinking, if you're coming at nursing from the idea that nursing is to promote adaptation, if you're working from Roy's theory, or if you're working from Orum's theory of promoting self-care, this will be an opportunity to reframe. The same if you're working from Watson's theory, which is grounded in caring, or Leininger's theory, which is grounded in caring. We take a little different perspective in nursing as caring, so this will be an opportunity for you to work on reframing. And just as an aside, because we're all faculty, this is a skill that students need to learn, especially in the 21st century for the range of changes that we're going to see in the 21st century. So that's what I have to say about reframing in the moment. Now, let me give you a little background on the primary influences to the development of the theory of nursing as caring. Our primary structural influence, how the theory is structured, how we develop the theory, really came from Orum's book, Concept Formalization in Nursing Process and Product. Well, it was from the Nursing Conference Development Group that worked with Orum to produce this book, which, in my opinion, is still one of the major treatises on theory and theory development in nursing, and on the whole concept of nursing as a discipline of knowledge in preparation for the field of practice. Conceptually, the primary influences on our theory are three: Patterson and Zirad's humanistic nursing, Roach's caring, the human mode of being, and Meyerhoff's on caring. In concept formalization for nursing process and product, there is a section that addresses what Orum, well, back in the day, what was it, the 60s, when she was late 50s and 60s, when she was developing her theory of nursing, she was reluctant to call it a theory because of where she was coming from in those days of the history of science. So she called it a concept of nursing. And in this book, Concept Formalization, there was a section called Evaluating the Adequacy of a Concept of Nursing. And there were a whole list of criteria for evaluating the adequacy. But there were the first four major criteria, and those four major criteria are what we used in the developmental process of nursing as caring. And those criteria for evaluating the adequacy of the theory were: what is the focus of nursing? Is it clearly stated? Does it clearly distinguish nursing from other disciplines and professions? And then the question, what do nurses do when they are nursing? Is that clearly stated? And is that distinct from any other discipline and profession? And then why do nurses do what they do? And finally, what's the creation of nursing? What's created in and through nursing? We changed that last one a little bit. Orem, back in the day when she was coming out of the field of sociology and action theory, they asked the question, what is produced through nursing? And so we changed that, having the benefit of human science, to what's created in and through nursing. This unique focus of nursing, as we stated it in Nursing as Caring, is this: the focus of nursing is nurturing persons, living caring, and growing in caring. And this statement, it crystallizes what it is that nursing is about. It's not illness. It's not illness care solely. It's not about a limited notion of health being the absence of illness, but truly what nursing is about. And we thought, after study and thought and work, we thought that it was about persons living caring and growing in caring and nurturing those persons in this process. I might just say, I don't know if we've ever talked about this before, but around the time we were developing Nursing as Caring, Rosemary Parsi was the eminent scholar on the faculty at Florida Atlantic University. And if you know anything about her theory, you know it's a lot about processes, a lot of ing words. And Parsi focused on becoming. And in fact, the I guess you would say the second curriculum model at Florida Atlantic University spoke about being and becoming. We deliberately put the being in there because we felt that becoming, if a total focus on becoming with no attention to the being, is selling the being short, if that makes any sense. And so in the curriculum model, it was changed to being and becoming. And in our theory, it was articulated as living caring and growing in caring. And then this statement of focus, it tells us clearly, what is it that nursing attends to? When a nurse walks into a situation with the intention of it becoming a nursing situation, what draws the nurse's attention? Is it the IV hanging at the side of the bed? Or, the socioeconomic status of the family? Or what? No, in this theory, it's nursing persons, living caring, and growing in caring. And this establishes nursing's unique contribution to health and health care. And I might stop here and say, regardless of the theory of nursing you are working from, that theory of nursing says in its own way, it answers these questions. So those of you, especially who are doctoral students, or anybody that's with us today who's thinking about maybe creating their own general theory of nursing, I think these are These are important questions to ask and to establish as you develop your ideas. The conceptual background of our theory, you can hear it if you're familiar with Patterson and Zirad's humanistic nursing. We talk about the nursing situation, we talk about calls for nursing and nursing responses. All those ideas came from Patterson and Zirad. We've modified them some to fit with a focus on caring and promoting persons living caring and growing in caring. But this is sort of, the conceptual origin of some of our language. And Meyerhoff's caring ingredients and Roach's 6 C's both have contributed what we'd like to say is the terminology of caring. Some ideas that help us describe caring in specific situations, describe specific examples of caring being lived out in situations. And I'm sure that you're all familiar with these, knowing alternating rhythms, patience, honesty, trust, humility and hope, and courage, Meyerhoff's caring ingredients. One of my close friends and also a beloved friend of many of you, Marilyn Parker, added her own caring ingredient to this list, and that is hospitality. So hospitality and also generosity, those are both ingredients of caring. So we're not limited to Meyerhoff's list of caring ingredients, but they give us a starting point. And then Roach's 6 C's also provide a terrific augmentation to a language of caring. Compassion, competence, neither one nor the other, but both in combination. Confidence, conscience, commitment, and comportment, the acting out, the living out of caring. And our good friend Pauline Maycutt added another 7th C, and that's communion. So all of these caring entailments contribute to communion, which is communion is a way of living caring with each other. When we were developing this theory, we were tossing ideas around, call, response, nursing situation, and we realized that we needed to establish clearly what are the assumptions, where are we coming from in this theory? What are our values, what are our beliefs that are being articulated in this theory? Now, these assumptions didn't jump out completely, articulated like this, but as we worked through over a period of months, longer, developing the theory, we always went back to the assumptions, and the assumptions had to be revised and modified, and sometimes an addition was made. But if you want to understand the theory of nursing as caring, it's important to understand these assumptions. If you want to evaluate the theory of nursing as caring in practice, or just conceptually as a thought experiment, these assumptions are they're the starting point and the ending point. Any ideas that we come up with about nursing as caring has to be consonant with these assumptions. And so the very first one is really the foundation of the theory. And for many people, it's the hardest one to deal with. For persons who cannot accept the first assumption, the theory of nursing as caring is not for them. We'll just say that plainly. But the basic assumption of the theory is that persons are caring by virtue of their humanness, and persons live caring moment to moment. Additionally, persons are whole or complete in the moment. This particular assumption sort of was born out of Parsi's notion that nursing is not a fixed discipline. So we take the perspective that there's nothing to be fixed in nursing. Persons are already whole and complete in the moment when we encounter them. They are living as caring persons in the moment, and they're also expressing hopes and dreams for growing and caring. So this assumption doesn't mean that people don't ever change or might not benefit from changing, but it says we take people where we are in the moment as caring person. Then the next assumption, personhood is living grounded in caring, and it's enhanced through participating in nurturing relationships with caring others. And then finally, we thought it was important to make this explicit, that nursing is not just a body of knowledge. Nursing is not just a set of actions, but nursing is both a discipline and a profession. Nursing as caring practice processes, we have only rather recently spelled these out explicitly, and they may not be complete, but it's what we're working with today. Nursing as caring processes can be briefly described like this. First of all, entering into the world of the other with the intention of coming to know the other as caring person, living caring in the situation, and revealing hopes and dreams for growing and caring. The nurse practicing nursing as caring offers a direct invitation for the person nursed to share that which matters in the moment. The direct invitation is a way of helping the one nursed to know that the gift of nursing is caring that's personally meaningful in ways that matter in the moment. The direct invitation opens the way to hearing calls expressed directly and indirectly. Specific calls for caring heard by the attentive nurse all reflect the universal call for caring. The call to know me as caring person, celebrate, affirm, and support me as caring person. Calls for caring address that which matter to the person in the moment, and they show the way to caring responses. Caring responses, nurturing responses of caring that can take many forms, including technological competency as intentional caring. Responses of caring are created in the moment as the gift of nursing in relation to the call as understood by the nurse. And finally, then, the process of enhancing personhood. What happens through the co-created caring between enhances personhood for all participants in the nursing relationship. That is, it enhances living grounded in caring. Enhanced personhood involves honoring self and other as caring persons, and this nurtures mutual living grounded in caring. The nurse, the person or persons nursed, and all who are in the dance of caring persons have the potential for enhanced ways of living caring through the experience of nursing as caring. And then the major concept of the theory is the nursing situation, which hopefully, if you're using the textbook, where is it? Barry, Gordon, and King's Nursing Case Studies in Caring Across the Practice Spectrum is kind of organized based on the idea of the nursing situation. And in Nursing as Caring, we express it a little differently than is expressed in the curriculum at FAU. We express it in Nursing as Caring as a shared lived experience in which the caring between the nurse and the one nursed enhances personhood, that is, enhances living grounded in caring. We take the position that all nursing occurs within the nursing situation and that nursing is known within the nursing situation. And that's why we advocate the study of nursing through the use of nursing situations, because nursing can be understood holistically and organically when it's studied in the context of a nursing situation. It's within the nursing situation that the nurse attends to calls for nursing and creates caring responses that nurture personhood. And the caring between is co-created between the nurse and one's nursed. It enhances living grounded in caring. Caring in nursing is understood as, oh, well, I'd better stop here and make this point. In Nursing as Caring, we avoid definitions. We avoid boxing ourselves and others into a strict and limited concept of meaning, but allow that meaning to emerge in situation. Now, in a quantitative research project, you have to have definitions, and you can hold any of our concepts still. You can pin them to a board and make them hold still for the purpose of your study. But I just want to explain to you the reason why you don't see a list of definitions in the book, Nursing as Caring, a Model for Transforming Practice. But we do talk about caring in nursing. And we say that it's the intentional and authentic presence of the nurse with another who's recognized as person living, caring, and growing in caring. Professional nurse caring starts with the assumption that nursing is a discipline and a profession, together with the statement of unique focus of nursing. So professional nurse caring supports and validates how a nurse approaches professional caring practice from an informed stance grounded in disciplinary knowledge, clearly distinguishing lay caring from professional nurse caring. And we understand authentic presence to be one's intentionally being there with another in the fullness of one's personhood. It's the initiating and sustaining medium of nursing within the nursing situation. And then personhood, which is a part of caring. Personhood is living grounded in caring. Calls for caring are calls for nurturance through situation-relevant personal expressions of caring. All calls are forms of this communication. And I think this is important if you're trying to work with nursing as caring. All calls are forms of this communication. Know me as caring person now and affirm me as caring person. Those calls may be communicated through a spiked temperature. They may be communicated through restlessness in a hospital bed. They may be communicated by parents asking the nurse how they can provide, a better, healthy life for their children. They can be expressed in limitless ways, but they're all an expression of this one idea. Know me as caring person, or you could say, know us as caring persons now. Now, not who we might be in the future, but now. And affirm me as caring person. And then we have nursing responses of caring. The nurse responds to calls for nursing with specific forms of caring nurturance that promote and sustain the growth of the other as a person uniquely living caring and growing in caring. In order to come to know, in order to hear the calls for nursing, we have to come to know the person. We have to come to know that person living caring now in this moment. And then the nurturing response flows from hearing the calls, which flows from hearing, coming to know the person as caring person. So the nursing response is the nurse's personal expression of caring that's unique to the moment. It's not some canned thing, even if it's picked out of a book of canned nursing diagnosis classifications. It still has to be transformed so that it's the nurse's personal expression of caring that's unique and right for the moment. The nursing response of caring is a response to that which matters to the one nursed. And then forms of nursing responses are just as limitless as calls for nursing. Nursing responses of caring by nurses are artfully created within human contexts and reflect sound disciplinary knowledge. And they may take many forms, single or in combination, examples of which may include, but are certainly not limited to, interpersonal, sociopolitical, technological, organizational, educational, interpersonal. And I'm sure you, from your own practice experience, can add some categories to this. Now, we move on to the relational model, the dance of caring persons. But excuse me just a moment, I have to let my dog out of her crate. Okay, so the dance of caring persons is the relational model that we use in nursing as caring. This model was developed and received a phone call. And received a phone call that invited us to come over to a life care facility that was just being designed near the campus. And they understood that the core of the life care facility had to be caring. So they, they called the university and asked for the experts in caring. We went over and worked with them for a while. And at the time we worked with them, there was a director of nursing. There was the owner, of course, and the CFO, and they had the head of the nutrition department. They had the groundskeeper, and I believe they had the head of laundry and those kinds of services. And so we met with that whole group several times. We sat around the conference room, and that whole group, some of whom spoke little English, and we asked them to tell us stories of how they lived their caring through their work role. And each one could tell us a story about how their work was an expression of caring and how it contributed to the caring environment. And so we took this information back to the university and worked with Sean Purnell, and she came up with this design, the Dance of Caring Persons. This illustrates that actually there can be several people in a nursing situation, that that people are free to move about. If you'll notice, nobody is well, there may be some slight touch by one of the figures in the dance, or a couple of figures. People are free to move about in the circle. There's no one person. The same person is not necessarily always in the center of the circle. It could be the patient, but it might be at any given time, it might be the guy that changes the light bulb in the patient's room, or it might be, it could be the wife or anyone. But all of the people who are involved in the caring situation are part of the dance of caring persons. Oh, there we go. Then in, I think it was 2018, the ABI had the summer academy that was focused on robotics in nursing. And coming out of that academy, Anne and I wrote an article with Amy Van Winsberg about what robotics, how robots should be understood as interacting appropriately in nursing situations. And so this image here illustrates the robot as part of the dance of living caring. We had to change it because the robot is not a person, but it's the dance of living caring. And now you will see that this robot is definitely touching two of the dancers, and that's explicitly indicating that the robot is always a partner in caring. The robot who is involved in nursing is always acting under the direction of the nurse. And just as an aside, that's one reason why nurses need to be at the, sitting with the engineers and the programmers who are designing the robot. Because healthcare robots are going to be part of the dance of living caring. One of the secondary criteria for evaluating a concept of nursing, one of them had to do with, is there evidence that the theory is in use? And it's in use in education, practice, and research. And so I wanted to just include this slide here that shows that middle range theories and models have been developed, grounded in nursing as caring. And those that we know about include Loxeen's technological competency as caring in nursing, Dunphy and Winland's circle of caring, which is, it's in the book, the just a minute, primary care. Hopefully it's a textbook you're familiar with if you're teaching advanced practice nursing, because it's the only advanced practice nursing textbook I know of that's grounded in care, that's explicitly grounded in caring and grounded in this model of caring that Dunphy and Winland Brown developed. Then we have Tanioka's transaction relationship theory of nursing, which, where's my book? Which is spelled out in this book, Nursing Robots, Robotic Technology and Human Caring for the Elderly. Then we have Osaka's model for the intermediary role of nurses in transactive relationships with healthcare robots. And so that's a combination of nursing as caring, Loxene's technological competency as caring and nursing, and Tanioka's transaction relationship theory of nursing. But it focuses on the nurse's role as intermediary when healthcare robots are interacting with persons. And then we have Kan Sawang's aesthetic nursing practice, which was developed as a doctoral student at FAU, and Ito's theory of human technology attachment in nursing, which I don't think it's been published yet, but I have the draft paper, and it focuses on patients developing a sense of attachment with the robot. There's several research models that have been developed out of nursing as caring in the article, the first article there that was published in Nursing Science Quarterly in 2002. I talked about two different models that I developed for the use in studying the theory and studying nursing from the lens of the theory. The research as practice model was an interesting study. I just loved that study. We looked at a triad, a nurse practitioner, a patient of the nurse practitioner, and a nurse researcher. And we talked about how caring was developed between the nurse practitioner and the patient on both for both persons. And I just thought that was an exciting study. And there's a couple of publications out of that. The Bingham and Hutchins study, Giving of Oneself on Another's Behalf, the Phenomenology of Everyday Caring, that was the application of the one of the theories that was that I developed to study everyday caring. And we would ask people, we would get people in groups like maybe seventh graders or people in a care home or neighbors or just people with any demographic connection. We would get them in a group and ask them, how do you live caring in your everyday life? And when we first started this, people told us, oh, people aren't going to be able to answer that question. As a matter of fact, they can. And we got some really interesting results from those studies. Then we used the phenomenological approach so that everybody who told a story then gave the story a name. And then the whole group that was present as the story was told worked with the whole collection of stories to come up with a theme or the primary essence of that group of stories, and so on. I won't go into too much detail there, but I do want to point out the Discovering the Value of Nursing in High-Tech Environments Outcomes Revisited. Anne and I redefined the notion of outcomes, and we called it the value of caring experienced in nursing. And then we studied several nursing situations. We studied the value experienced by the nurse, the value experienced by the patient, the value experienced by the hospital system, the value experienced by the community. In other words, the dance of caring persons. So that's enough of that. Now, if you'd like to, not sure what time it is. Let's see. I still have time. If you'd like to, we can work with a nursing situation for a minute. So please just read this story of a nursing situation. It was presented to us by Dana Reynolds, and it's it's one of the chapters in the Nursing Case Studies in Caring book. So let's just take a few minutes and read this. And those of you who work with the idea of nursing situations may be familiar with the idea of creating an aesthetic representation of the essence of nursing in the situation. And that's what Dana Gonzalez did in this poem. This is her aesthetic recreation of nursing in this situation. And that's all I have to present today. I think it's time now for us to talk, and if you want to, we can talk about the well, there's Anne. Yay. Put your voice on, Anne. You're mute.
Hi, everybody. Sorry I was late.
Hi, Anne. We welcome you to the Faculty Learning Circle on Your Theory with Sabina. So Great to have you here.
Thank you. Good to be here.
If you'd like to, we can talk about what calls for nursing you heard in the nursing situation or the nursing responses. Sometimes I think, especially for if you're just getting started, it's easier to start with looking at the nursing responses and working our way back to, well, if this was the response of caring, what was the call for caring? And how did the nurse come to know the person as caring, and how did the caring between develop? Or we can just talk about anything you want to talk about.
I have a question. This is Marlene.
Marlene, hi, thank you.
Hi, yes. So I am trying to relate the nursing as caring theory to health disparities. And one of the things I'm having a little bit difficulty is like, can you give me a little bit more explanation of persons are caring by virtue of their humanness? Like in that relation, like apparently I need to explain it a little bit more than that,
Because caring is a part of what it means to be human. Because all persons are human, all persons are caring. And part of, I know some people find it difficult to deal with that assumption because they would like to think that every action that they see a person express is an action of caring, which we know that's not true. So how can we say that to be human is to be caring? And that's what this theory says. To be human is to be caring, period. We don't question that statement.
So I guess the thing is like, as a human characteristic, what would you say about caring? Like I read an article where I can't remember which one it says. Caring is a human characteristic. So how can I expand that a little bit more?
Actually, I think it's way more than that, but Anne, please go ahead and tell us.
No, I was just going to suggest, Marlene, you were asking about in relation to health disparities, and it's all, each person is unique. Each person is different. A lot depends on our background, where we've come from, the relationships that we've had. So it's coming to understand the uniqueness of each person. How you express your caring, how I express my caring are maybe different. And some people might judge an expression of caring coming from a background they don't understand. And so that calls for us to be humble and to reflect on what it is we're experiencing so we can come to understand caring in new ways. I don't know if that helps.
Yes, yeah, and the thing is, when I was thinking about it, the idea of persons as unique came up. So, but I just put that caring is human characteristics because I found that in an article. But the way you explained it, like I think I could go with each person is unique, and caring is a way of helping the person to grow. How does that sound?
And in addition, I think the nurse accepts the challenge that my work here is to come to know that person as caring person. And if I'm having a hard time doing that, I think I always go back to the caring ingredients and look and see which of those caring ingredients I can see being lived out by this person. And maybe it's honesty.
Alrighty, thank you so
Or maybe
much.
it's trust. But you got to find a starting place. Some people, it's harder to find a starting place than others. But
Okay,
I would just like to add that for me, and I think Dee and Ann would both agree, and Marlene, caring is much more than a characteristic of what it means to be human. It's the essence of what it means to be human. But thank you for kicking this discussion off, Marlene.
thank you.
Wanted to follow up on Marlene's comment because when I first was with Savina and Ann discussing nursing as caring, and that very thought of all humans, that first assumption, all humans are caring, all humans have caring because they are human. And so I started to put it in an analogy for myself. I started to think about a dimmer switch on a light. And the light can be turned completely that you don't even see it glowing, but there's still an electrical current going to that light. And when I did that for myself, I started to embrace that idea. It is there, but we see it expressed at various moments to moments differently. The light can be brightly shining and glowing and just be so obvious you couldn't miss it. And it could be so dim or really off that you have to recognize the current is still present. And that helped me wrap my head around it a little bit better.
That's a great analogy. I haven't heard that before.
Yeah, it is. I love it. Great.
Hi, everybody. I put my hand up because I just wanted to share a story with you, and it's about the nursing situation that you shared. I teach the Foundations of Caring class here at FAU, and so that nursing situation is one of the ones that we actually have the students go through the nursing situations in that book and do like little skits to enact them through the class. And when we got to that nursing situation, you know, the students were presenting their skit, and we got to the part where the nurse kissed the patient's head. And, you know, this class is the students' first nursing class that they take. And they were just like, can you really do that? Like, is that allowed? Like, can a nurse really kiss a patient on the head? Like, so it led to a really lovely discussion of like nurse-patient relationships and, you know, like professional boundaries, but also these caring moments that we have as nurses. So it's just a nice discussion that we got to have based off of that moment between the nurse and the patient in that nursing situation.
Sounds wonderful. So you agree that it's worthwhile using the nursing situations to teach nursing?
Absolutely. And I think especially in, well, I mean, in any course, but in that caring course, we have the nursing situation book, and then we have Marlene, I see that you're here. We have Marlene's theory book, and each theory has a story in it that illustrates the theory. And I just appreciate that so much, because I feel like a lot of students, you know, it's their very first nursing class they've ever taken. A lot of them are fresh out of high school, and I feel like the stories make the theories so much more accessible to the students, and they really help us to understand the theory in a rich way. So I appreciate everybody who's on here. I appreciate your work, and we definitely use it.
Well, I appreciate your approach to what used to be called the fundamentals of nursing, because what you are teaching in that class, that those are the fundamentals of nursing. The fundamentals of nursing aren't what I learned when I took fundamentals of nursing in 1970, which was shots and dressings and stuff like that. So I thank you for the way you're teaching nursing.
Oh, thank you so much.
So I'd like to say thank you also, Katie. The students really appreciate her approach and what she does in that very beginning class, because that's a tough class to teach. And she's really doing a beautiful job, and her evaluations actually show it, and the comments that students say. And they carry that for the 4 years. So their whole idea in terms of introducing caring science to students in the foundations course was so that they would socialize that. And you can see them at the end of the 4 years where they started out with Katie and they end up with a very much more profound understanding. So Katie does a very good job. She didn't say that about herself, but I can say that in my former role.
Thank you so much, Dr. Edwards. That means a lot.
I have my hand up.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, that's okay. I was going to say something similar, Kate, just that I love that you're doing that, Katie. And the way that students begin to study nursing matters so much in how they come to reflect and think about nursing throughout their 4 years. So you're really, what you're doing is so important with those students in the beginning. I did want to say too that to Savina that to thank you for the wonderful presentation, and that I've heard you and Anne present on Nursing is Caring several times, and I always get something new out of it, and a new awareness and growth and understanding. So I really wanted to say that. And also just thinking about the work of Nursing is Caring, and this is general, not for just this theory, but I think that the arc or the evolution or the trajectory of the growth of any theory takes a long time. It gets rooted, and then people, they start to see it grow. And I just see so much growth in Nursing is Caring now internationally. It's in Colombia, it's in Japan, as you talked about the theories, but also the research growing. It's spread in practice environments, and so I just wanted to say that I really see Nursing as Caring kind of blooming in its evolution right now.
Thank you. I didn't mention it in the prepared talk, but the book Nursing is Caring, a model for transforming practice, has been translated into Portuguese recently, and it has not been published yet, but we hope it'll be published by the end of this year. And Hita gave us a little help with that, didn't you, Hita?
Yeah, I had the privilege to share some ideas with you.
A colleague from Portugal, well, I might say the main translator of the book, we sadly and tragically, we lost him earlier this year, but the other colleague from Portugal, she and I just recently did our presentation for IAHC. We videoed it. It's not available yet, but most of it was my colleague from Portugal, and she was terrific. But especially I'm looking at Hector, and I'm looking at Porn, and maybe Wipawi and Niporn, and anybody else who thinks about translating a theory from English or from Canadian English or British English or from one language to another. There's a heck of a lot of work, and translating the idea of caring is very, very difficult. But with stories, it happens.
Hi, Sabina and Ann. This is Dee. I have my hand
Hi,
up.
Dee.
I wanted to ask you a little bit more because both you and Ann have written about story, and how significant that is to the expression of nursing as caring in the nursing situation. And I wondered if you could share a little bit more about that.
Anne, would you?
In what, I'm just wondering, I'm thinking, Dee, in what way,
Well, just also how you presented story within that, when you wrote about it, and how you wanted to capture that meaning. And so it can be conveyed, to perhaps the way in which Katie has initiated that within her course.
I'm going to jump in here, and I hope I don't, because it just dawned on me, Dee, you were there at the birth of this idea, wasn't she, Anne?
yeah,
We were at a workshop in Gainesville, and we were going to present, and we sort of like we usually do. Oh, what are we going to do? I don't know. Is it time yet? And Dee was with us, and at that workshop, we invited people to tell stories of nursing, and what came out of that was so profound. And what can you add?
yeah, that's the story. Can you hear me? Do I have it on?
Mhm.
That's where I was thinking of Katie when she was sharing her experience with these new students and their response to the kiss on the forehead. I was thinking of the story that we heard at that VA gathering, and it was profound. And it was the story of Tracy, a little girl who was dying of leukemia. And this nurse stood up and told this unbelievably beautiful story, and how she helped the mother to get into bed to hold Tracy. Just things that in the old days, even for Tracy to lie on the bed with the mom and Tracy, to actually get on the bed with them and together, be together in that very blessed, sacred moment. I think for me, that was the beginning of the power of story. And then we wrote that book, the article for Image on story as a way of knowing, of understanding. But it for me, it did go back to that VA experience, having no idea of what would come from the nurses. It was the first time, I think that was the first time, Savina, we ever did that.
It is.
Yeah.
The background of that is Robert Cole's book, The Call of
All
Story,
stories. Yeah.
and also the concept nursing situation.
See
And
it.
those two things sort of came together, and we had this brainstorm, and it worked.
Yeah.
I did, this is Dee again. I did want to share that I had the experience that you shared about Mrs. Rodriguez and the nurse on your nursing situation. This is a recent situation for me with a person who was in the hospital in the trauma unit and was intubated, and just of course I wasn't coming as a nurse as such, I was coming as a friend to visit, but that whole nurse patient relationship or person to person relationship, recognizing the fear in the individual, who is experiencing that, the respiratory issues and of course with the tracheostomy and the, and that kind of thing, and wanting the individual, the person who's ill, wanting to communicate, but can't as such, and how critical it is to have the nurses there who, I did observe the nurses with my friend, to see how they interacted with her, and I was very impressed with the time that they took to just explain things to her or share or just be empathetic, with her expression of fear and anxiety. And so I think that's such a significant case study from the point of view. There's so much intricacy involved in, the person who's suffering and the nurse who's responding to that call of the patient. And for me, just having had that experience and to observe that, but even my own self, the wanting to communicate. But I did want to share that I did kiss my friend on the forehead as well when I left. And when you shared that story, that was so significant when I heard that, and how much that reaction from the patient, to that, just was very significant.
Enhancing personhood is not just with the patient, is it?
No. No. And what you learn, even though you've been a nurse for over 60 years, and still continuing to learn, And that's the thing, I think, like when you were talking about the robots and robots as members of the team, and their your image, showing that the robots, that there is touching between the robot and the nurses. But the situation is, which we had at that ABI conference, whether or not robots have consciousness to the point whereby they're caring, that they can experience at this depth of that relationship, between the nurse and the nursed, that kind of thing. And I wonder if you have any more comments about that, since you've been doing a lot of work with our colleagues at Tokushima University on robotics and nursing and caring.
Well, there's, I guess, two directions I could go with that. One is it's mimicry, but that doesn't mean that it's false or useless. And what I always think of is, this is me, I'm a girl, I played with dolls, how I love those dolls and how they love me back. Or any of you who have dogs or pets of some kind, you love them and they love you back. So who's to say that I can't receive affection from a robot? I can't proclaim today that the robot receives affection from me, but the robot receives communication from me, and that influences the robot's continuing response towards me. for me, the important thing there is the dance of living caring, where the robot is always a partner in caring and guided by the nurse. And you want to?
Well, I wish, I guess, I mean, I agree with what you're saying, certainly about being a partner. I guess my concern is that with the shortage of healthcare providers, how these robots might be used and how that connection with a real provider will live out. How will that really be? Or will a robot just be the partner who goes in and does the things, and then there's not this relational. I'm not saying a robot can't have a relationship, because I think they can, but I don't think it's the same as, certainly as the nurse.
No.
With going in with, as we said earlier, the knowledge grounded in the discipline and responding in that way. That's the part that I'm afraid will be shortchanged.
And that's where our responsibility comes in. Yeah. And that's where you guys at FAU, you're helping nurses become future ready by the shared programs you have with engineering and with whatever you're teaching within the curriculum about that teaches nurses to be able to speak to engineers, speak to programmers, and speak, probably more important than anything else, speak to the CFO and the CEO of the healthcare system, so that nurses are in charge of any robotic involvement with patients that goes under the name of nursing. It's our responsibility to step up and say, we know some things, and what we know has to be a part of these decisions. We know nursing. And again, I think that's our responsibility to work with these. I tried to do a natural language processing project a couple of years ago, but I gave up because I didn't know enough. But I think we do have a responsibility to work with the computer scientists who are doing natural language processing to try to understand caring so they can teach the robot how to communicate caring effectively and appropriately in situations. And that's one of the things that they're doing over at Tokushima is I think they just chose one way of expressing caring, and I can't remember what it was. I don't remember what it was. But, you have to have millions of examples. So the least we can do is contribute our stories. Our stories will help the computer programmers translate those stories into computer language so that the robot can learn how to effectively communicate caring effectively and appropriately.
Yeah, I think we have to be the moral agent in practice to be sure that nursing lives in a way that it ought to live, with the higher ups.
Look at it. Look at every technology that's come on the healthcare scene. And nursing has not always insisted on full participation and control of the way that technology is used. We've allowed some things to be imposed upon us, and they didn't work out to the benefit of nursing. They worked out maybe to the benefit of the bottom line or to somebody else's job. So we really have to take responsibility and live our caring courageously.
You know, this is kind of a far off maybe example, but I'm thinking about COVID and the story of a chief nurse who where the tubing, that the IV and so forth were set up outside of the rooms of those who had COVID, so the nurses wouldn't have to be exposed. They didn't want to be exposed, and so the length of the tubing length was longer than it normally would be. And anyway, the chief nurse learned that this was going on and stopped it immediately for good reasons. One is it affected the amount of medication the patient was getting, but the second and more important reason perhaps is there was no personal contact. So this nurse took the initiative to assure that nursing could take place, not from, otherwise there was something technologically going on. It could have been with a robot, but it wasn't nursing. It wasn't that personal piece. So when that changed and the nurses went in the room and actually were with the person, everything changed. Everything changed. So I give her credit for doing what ought to be done to practice nursing. And that's what I think we have to be responsible for with robots, that we have to be responsible to be sure nursing continues to be practiced.
Well, I think that idea of that moral responsibility is ours, right? And we have to engage that when we're interacting with engineers and computer scientists and AI people and that kind of thing, so that that actual notion of nursing as caring is dominant, in this, when we have more and more technology introduced into the care process and that kind of thing. So, well, I'm just looking at the time and wondered if any of the participants have an additional comment or question before we say farewell to Anne and Sabina and to the end of our faculty learning circle for this academic year. So are there any further comments? And I know my colleague Terry is on the call as well, and she and I have been the part, kind of the coordinators of this process. So I don't know if Terry also has a comment she'd like to make.
I would just like to invite the people who are on the call to send us any recommendations for the faculty learning circles for next year, Dee.
That's an excellent idea.
And I'd just like to thank you, Dee and Terry, for continuing to make this happen. Thank you.
Oh, you're most welcome, and we're grateful to you, with and Dr. Smith for overseeing the Anne Boykin Institute and also our interrelationship with our FAU Christine E. Lynn College of Nursing. So are there any other comments that our participants?
I wanted to say one other thing. We have a student on the line, and just in living caring with that student, Vanessa Duncan is on here, and she won an award this past weekend. Vanessa, do you want to share with your our colleagues here? Very proud of you.
Hi, guys. Hi, Dr. Ray. Hello,
Hi.
Dr. Berger. Hi, Hector. Hi, guys. I see my classmates are on here. I participated in Sigma last Wednesday, IOTA, and this semester I'm in my comprehensive exams, and I didn't want to do anything but my comprehensive exam. And one of my peers that's going through the same journey as I am twisted my arm and said, you have to. And I'm like, no, I don't have to. She said, we already did the work. So she twisted my arm, and I went ahead and I presented my poster, and I just talked about it. I wasn't expecting anything. I stood in the corner, and when they called my name, I had to look out to make sure it was really the same person. So I ended up getting the Sigma Iota Best Poster Award, and I
Hey,
was shocked
so proud of
beyond
you. So
because
proud
I
of you. We
really
were
wasn't
waiting for you to
expecting it.
get to the celebration there. Good for you.
Yes, but thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
We're very proud of you.
Thank you.
I think Marlene has something to say, right? You're mute.
Sorry, I just wanted to comment that, we're seeing a mass exodus of nurses from nursing, and that this theory of nursing as caring is important to guide leaders, administrators in healthcare settings in their care of nurses,
Well, I think it's 2:30. So thank you again, Ann Boykin and Sabina Schonifer for this amazing presentation of your theory and supporting just what Dr. Smith said. It is something that we as nurses and as nursing faculty and recipients of care, have to continue to coordinate and how significant it is within the context of our profession. And like you said, Marlene, the nurse administrators who currently are in administration caring for the nurses in practice and how significant that is, and with that level of appreciation and understanding and love, really, for what nurses do in practice. So
Dee, one more thing. I just wanted to remind everybody, the faculty learning circles, we record them and they're posted on the Ann Boykin Institute resources. And I know that students are making good use of those resources, even though they might not be able to be here. I had students here this weekend and several of them had gone to our resources in the ABI as evidenced by their presentations. So make sure that you take advantage of those resources if you want to revisit any of the important discussions we had this year.
Thank you for having us. And I don't think I kept the follow-up slide on very long, but feel free to contact Ann or me, or you can just go nursingiscaring@gmail.com and we'll both get it.
That sounds perfect.
Thank you.
Sabina, did you share your slides with us? Or do you mind if we post them?
No, I don't mind. I'll send them to you. I tried
Okay.
to, but I couldn't get it posted in the chat, but I'll send it to you and you.
Okay, that'd be wonderful.
Thank
And
you.
I'll post them there as well, because I know people will be going there. Thank you so much.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you again for everything.